Hello, welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and 10 Types. Why don't you say hello?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My voice is a bit under the weather, so hopefully it holds up for the podcast.
Yeah, and that's hopefully that will encourage us not to ramble on too long, which I think sometimes might do. But either way, I'm prepared to carry the podcast like usual. So, no changes there really. So we're on episode 39. And I think we've improved over time. We've made some adjustments. We tried some things out, added some things, tossed away some things. I think are better off than where we started. So I do think we have a very interesting episode. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun to listen to. Looking at the D block, those are the Pokemon from the first year of Sword and Shield, and kind of putting together a Hall of Fame from those cards that all rotate. And only for cards that rotated, right? So like a card like Boss's Orders, there are other new bosses reprinted, right? So they would not
Since then,
count.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and then also one thing, actually, this idea originally came from the fact that I actually made a tier list or a Hall of Fame for these cards, except I did it like in a different way, and it wasn't a particularly good
Mhm.
way. I don't really remember if I end up with a definitive list, but I guess I'll explain the way we're going through it now. We each
Mhm.
have a list of 20 cards that we think are in consideration. The top 20 cards that could be, I guess, nominees for the Hall of Fame. And then we're
Yes.
going to collectively get 10 of them and put them into the Hall of Fame. This is not something that we have that like exists yet. I mean, it's just kind of a silly thing, but I think it's something that at least I want to end up with a list of cards from like lots of different years. And then we're doing this to set up because rotation will be happening arguably soon, the next rotation, and then we'll put those cards in the Hall of Fame as well when they rotate.
Yeah, right. Initially, I think you mentioned to me doing Hall of Fame for what we have now, but it's like, hey, wait till first. What's going to rotate? Let's wait till the rotation gets closer. And this one, I like the D block because it rotated a while ago, a bunch of months ago, but it's still relatively fresh. But we have a little perspective too, so I think it's a good time to judge the D block. And like I said, we'll probably talk about some other older blocks too, as well.
Later
Um,
down the line, not today.
Not today, no. Maybe not necessarily next week either. We don't plan that far ahead anyway.
Yeah, one
So
thing I want to add is that the only when you say go back, just go back one block. We didn't really play too much before then, unless you want
Sun
to
and Moon, you
research.
mean,
Well,
right?
the last block of like Sun and Moon, the
Oh,
last year,
okay.
because
So just one more year, which would be in theory the C block if we actually had that outside of Japan.
yeah, which is by the way where it came from. The block started in Sun and Moon. The first Sun and Moon block or year or whatever is the A block, but that was only in
Yep.
Japan, and that continued for 3 years until we eventually got a block with the D block. That's why it starts with D block for us.
Yeah, and it is very handy. So I'm glad that they did that. Certainly putting these marks on cards if you're sorting out at an event, I think it makes life simpler. Um, so we ready to start digging in to our
A
list
few
now?
things I want to say. One, the main thing is live doesn't have the ability to sort by block. BTGO did.
Yes.
Live you can sort by set though, and I'll read off the sets. And keep in mind, and there's some weird wiggle room.
Hmm.
With like sets, sometimes they can like be in different blocks. It's very strange. But generally, you got four sets every year. So for this block, we got Sword and Shield base set, Rebel Clash, Darkness
Yep.
Ablaze, and Vivid Voltage. And then the mini sets Champions Path and Shining Fates also um, had D block cards, which we will talk about possibly.
Yeah, and also, and that it doesn't really matter for this, but obviously there are the promo cards, and sometimes there are cards that are in a block that only come out as promos too. But so yeah, Live obviously is not as good as PTCGO. Something like sorting by block would be really good. Just
Yeah,
not for just for this, but just in general, right? There's a lot of features Live is missing. I think it's fair to say.
yeah. I don't think this is like a huge deal. Really, it's not useful for too much. You can sort by like standard, and it does that pretty well.
Right.
So I don't think it's like a huge deal, but in this
Yep.
case, it's a bit annoying.
Yep. So, are we going to talk Pokemon trainers or energy first? We had
I think let's start with Pokemon. Do you want to go
Got to
by
start
type?
with that. Okay. I didn't. I didn't organize them at all. I didn't think about
Uh,
them by type. It's
okay,
not that
well,
many.
okay, you can go. You can kick us off. Tell me what you have
See,
on your list.
so Pokemon. I organized it by attackers and support Pokemon, I will
Okay, that's
say.
fine. We can talk about attackers first.
And to me, I will just one of my criteria, which we might disagree on, is as I like cards that are more universal, that always have the edge, and therefore attackers are least universal, right? Example being the first card I'll toss out, Eternatus VMAX, goes in one deck, Eternatus VMAX, right? Deck,
Yeah, arguably
basically.
that's the
It was
it's
it was a very powerful deck. It was
yeah.
super good early, and it came back later on before rotation, right, with Eternatus and some other cards. So it wasn't even just it had its dominance early, but it's hung around and it had a resurgence. So I think it's was around long enough and dominant enough. I think it belongs here.
Yeah, and I think it was never really bad either. Um, yeah, I agree with it. That is on my top 20 as well.
Okay. All right, good. Do you want me to keep going or you want
Yeah.
to
You go off, read off your list, and then I'll talk about mine after.
All right, so here's another. Well, okay, so an attacker. Wow, some
Yeah,
of
or
these
you just
aren't
read off all
necessarily.
your attackers, and then I'll say my attacks.
Yeah, some of them get questionable how you classify them too. So the next is Dragapult VMAX. You really like this a lot more than I did, but it's still very good. It was very good. And uh, Phantom Max Phantom. Oh, should we say what the cards say briefly? By the
Yeah,
way, we didn't do that
sure.
for Eternus. So Eternus VMAX 340 HP, which meant it was super tanky. Was it the biggest HP when it came out? Even
Yeah, I know it's the biggest ever.
it's still nothing's been bigger than
Yeah, oh, yeah,
340.
of like standard cards. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had Eternal Zone ability, still has it. You just can't play in standard. If all your Pokemon in play are Dark type, then you can have 8 benched Pokemon on your bench. So get a big bench there, and then that part of that paired with the Dread End attack for 2 energy, Dark colorless, 30 damage for each of your Dark Pokemon in play. So could a cap of 270, which today obviously is 10 below that magic 280. So it's not a great number, but when it first came out, it was certainly a big number.
Yeah, well, in 280 was still a relevant number. There's a card that may be on your list that did fix the math some, though.
Yeah, tool. Right. We have
Oh,
tools
wait,
now that
what?
do.
That's not. Never
Oh,
mind.
no, not that. Sorry. But there are tools also to buff it by 10, right?
Yeah.
To get to
Let's
280.
talk about that card now too. Do you know what that card is that I was talking about?
No, go ahead.
Okay. It's Galarian Zigzagoon. I did not have
Okay.
that on my list. But it's a pretty
Oh,
good
that one's
card.
that is on my list. It's under support Pokemon
Yeah.
by my system.
Yeah, and it is for me as well. But or it would be. But I think it's worth talking about with Eternatus. Um,
Hmm.
and it synergizes with Scoop Up Net, which we'll get to later.
Hmm.
But I think it's can you tell me why you put it on your list, and I'll tell you why kind of I didn't.
Okay, I mean it's the ability is Headbutt Tantrum, right? Which does when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may put one damage counter onto one of your opponent's Pokemon, so bench or active, right? We have some Halucha now just hits the bench, hits two, but this hits one, but could be the active. So therefore, you can get that knockout you want. Obviously, for Eternus, loves it because it's dark. You got to fill up the bench anyway. You had Scoop Up Net to reuse. So it went in a number of decks, is why I put it on the list. Part of it, one of the criteria is universal, things that are more universal, as I said. So a card like Goon went into a number of decks just to kind of help fix the math. So it was a really nice option, I felt at the time.
Yeah, and then this gets to my criteria a little bit as well, why I didn't include it. As you said, it is universal. I'd say it's a
Hmm.
weaker card than Eternatus. I don't know if you'd agree with that. I mean, it obviously does less damage, but um, and it is universal, but it also is heavily reliant on another card, that being Scoop Up Net. Um,
Yes.
Hawlucha is very similar to Galarian Zigzagoon, which, as you said,
Hmm.
does it's out now. It's a pretty new card and pings the bench. Is supposed to just the active, or is supposed to the active and the bench, but
Right.
it does more. Um, there's a good argue which is better, but Hawlucha isn't a particularly good card at all. It sees some play. It's not like a bad card, but it's not a
Right.
great one. Because there's no scoop up net, which I'll talk about. But I feel like if a card's only good because of other supporting cards, then then that card is worse.
Yeah, I mean, Halucha though today still gets played in more than one deck, right? So and sometimes it does get played to fix the math and things too. So that side. But yeah, Scoop Up Net made Goon much better, obviously, and I think Scoop Up Net may end up being on both our lists. Who knows there, right? The
Yeah, who
mystery's
knows? Who
there.
knows?
Um, but yeah, Goon went with that. I think it's in the top 20. But we'll see to that. It's because are we gonna just do a top 10? Or are we doing a unified top 20? By the way, we
I
never
think maybe we should
sorted
also
that
do
out.
unified top 20 because I don't think it'll
Okay.
be super hard to determine a top 10, but we'll see.
Okay. So this is on the bubble then in that regard. So because I have it on my list, you don't have it on yours.
Yeah.
All right. So and I have two other. Well, I put them under attackers, but they're not necessarily attackers as I look at them. One is another dark Pokemon because might as well stick with those.
Wait, what?
And this is
Oh, yeah.
Galarian Wheezing, which it attacks severe poison. And the attack is good. Okay,
It's
it
all
wasn't
right. It works. It does what it
it
needs to
works for
do.
yeah. So I should probably should put it under support, but it's a weird one, right? So severe poison, your opponent's active poison Pokemon is now poisoned. Put 4 damage down, 4 damage counters instead of one during Pokemon checkup. So adds up fast, which is good, but it's really for neutralizing gas. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, so it has to be in the active spot. Your opponent's Pokemon in play have no abilities except for neutralizing gas. So you could neutralizing gas one another is what that part means of it. But it doesn't affect yourself at all. But you ability lock your opponent with a stage. It's a stage one Pokemon, 130 HP, not terrible. Retreat cost of 3, which is that was not good. There was Hiding Dark as an option under a special energy that rotated to help make that happen. Um, I think it was. Look, we both played with this card a lot. It was a fun card to play with. Certainly whether it was a fun card to play against, probably wasn't because it made the game difficult. But it opened up a lot of options. I think.
Yeah, I think one thing to note that's very important that you didn't mention is the coughing, which actually came out in Shining Fates,
Mm,
allowed you to
yeah.
evolve using your attack, turn one going second, which meant that
Yes.
um, you'd always have like you could get
You could have wheezing for your opponent's second turn. They were ability locked because you could get your stage one up turn one.
yeah, and
Right.
there's a card that I'm assuming is on your list that was a pretty good stage one with an ability that we'll probably get to.
Okay. So was wheezing on your list?
Yeah, Glenn Weezing was on my list. The one
Okay.
card that I'm assuming you don't have any other dark attackers, right?
No, no other dark attackers. So
Yeah, so the one dark Pokemon that I don't have on my list that I was considering keeping on my list was Sableye or Sableye V. Sableye
okay.
V is I mean, it does, I think it's for 2 dark, it does 10, 60 more for each damage counter your opponent's active. Synergizes with Galarian Zigzagoon, some other cards, and then Galarian Weezing
Hmm.
was what it was often played with.
Yes.
Um, I don't know, that didn't quite make my list, but I think that's an interesting. I think it was in my like top 30. And
Okay.
obviously it's a pretty good card. It's like the definition of a glass cannon. It's a 2 prizer with 170 HP that is an
Yeah.
attacker, but it was pretty good. Um,
It,
I don't. I think it was pretty close to Weezing.
okay. I mean, I have like amongst my attacks, I have like 5 or 6 attacking Pokemon that I didn't include in my top 20, and that did not include Sableye. I'll say.
Okay.
Um, just because Sableye was good with Weezing for a bit, but then people figured out it's better without it just because the 2 prize liability, right? You kind
Oh,
of
I
had
mean,
to
people
close
replaced
the
it with
game out to play it.
Eternatus. Like that's what they did.
Yeah,
So
and
I mean, they're different.
the Galarian Moltres, right? Like the single prize Moltres,
Well, yeah,
let's
people also
say.
cut the Weezing, and then they added Hoopa, which again also not on my list.
Yeah,
Which I don't think neither of us are big fans of. Which does 90 if you swing in for 1 dark,
right.
but it's not as like impactful of a Pokemon certainly, and I definitely think doesn't belong on this list.
No, definitely not. And I played Hoopa some because I was the bigger Eternus player, but which there's a period when that was in the list. But yeah, no, Hoopa was not there. I mean, look, Sableye was meaningful,
Yeah,
but you
Hoopa
didn't
got
put it on your
banned
list.
though.
It did. It did. I was in the got what is it? The Players Cup, right? For trying to qualify for it. I came up short, and I got my tournament list ready to play. And then that day I was ready to play, Hoopa was banned. I think I was like, oh, now what do I do? So
Yeah.
but so even though we hate on live, which is fair, PTCG was not all roses either.
No. But so and then what's your last attacker?
So my last attacker, which is so you have so you have Dragapult in your list, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, did I say that
You did, yes.
already? Okay, so I thought so.
Oh, we
So
didn't really talk about Dragapult actually. Let's talk about it.
oh yeah, you go ahead
So
because you played a lot more than I did.
yeah, I didn't actually play it that much, but it's a deck that I thought was very good. And Max Phantom, its attack 130, and then put for 2 Psychic on a VMAX, then put 5
Yep.
damage counters on your opponent's bench in any way you like. It's one of the best spread cards of the Sword and Shield block, which is kind of a weird thing to say because there are a bunch, and then there's a pretty big like drop off between like the best and then like the next level. But it was quite good. Arguably, it was
Yeah.
the first good VMAX. I think that's actually not that arguable. That's probably pretty true. Um, it was quite good when it came out, and then it
Hmm.
came back later on with well, you got the weakness triangle, which it involves Eterndis, which is weak to fighting, hit its dark type,
Hmm.
Dragapult weak to darkness, it's psychic type, and then you got certain fighting Pokemon that are weak to psychic, which or mostly Urshifu, but
Right.
those were later. But there's this weakness triangle that kind of kept all these cards relevant, but also not too broken.
Yeah, kept them from taking over. I mean, I always found Dragapult it's on both our lists. I just always found it difficult to set up. Somehow the two energies, right? Energy acceleration, like with both like Eternus, Dragapult, getting the energies on was a challenge sometimes. So that was one issue. And then the put 5 damage counters wherever you want with Max Phantom was very nice, but it only did 130 to the active, and that's very underwhelming for a three prize Pokemon.
Yeah, later on it ended up being paired with Disruption, Path to the Peak, arguably one of the best cards in that block. It was pretty nice for Dragapult.
Hmm.
But I don't know, Dragapult was certainly a good card during its time. We'll decide whether or not it
Yeah.
belongs to the top
Yeah,
10, though.
no, it was a good card. It's yeah. And then my last attacker, which is again kind of a supporter, more of attacker, I guess, than Wheezing, and that's Zacian V, probably the poster card for Sword and Shield, right?
Yeah,
I,
definitely. I think it's very good. It does 230 for 3 metal,
yeah.
but then it had cards to power it up. It can't attack your next turn, but it also had an ability that lets you not only draw 3 to end your turn, but if you hit any energies off those 3 you're drawing, you have to accelerate them as well as Zacian. I'm a control
Yes.
player. I play a lot of Rotom V, and Zacian V is essentially
Hmm.
directly better than Rotom V. Zacian's retreat cost is higher, but I mean it's a much better Pokemon than Rotom.
Yes. I mean, look, first 230, 230 is still a good damage number now because 220 is usually what you're at. So 230, and back then 230 was even a bigger deal. So that damage level was significant. The ability to set up tremendous, um, and and obviously accelerating to itself. If you were playing a metal, you could play it even in non-metal decks for the draw sometimes, but usually you metal with the accelerate to itself was a very good Pokemon. It was a very good Pokemon probably the whole time. That's another factor too to me. Like how long was it impactful, right? Some of them were more short-lived when they were big four.
Yeah, and a lot of
Sasha,
them,
go
sorry,
ahead.
so a lot of them started very strong, the ones we're going to be talking about, but then it fell off later on.
Yeah,
There are a few we'll talk about that started weak and then came in stronger at the end. And then there
yeah,
are obviously some that are just good the whole time.
right. So that yeah, like I said, if it stayed strong longer, that's a plus. So I assume Zacian was on your list too, correct?
Yeah, that was on my list. I have a feeling that's going to end up in the
Top
top
10.
10. Yeah.
It's hard not to write. There's a couple of cards that seem obvious there. Zacian, such a good attacker, very useful ability. So those are my attackers. Do you want to talk about attackers for you,
Yeah,
or should I talk?
so I'll talk about my attackers. I got how many more do I think I have 3 here.
Okay,
Yeah. So I got 2 of them are lightning, and one of them is colorless.
okay,
So I'll start with the colorless one that I don't know if it belongs here, but it's Cramorant V.
okay.
Um,
And that was yeah that was on my. It didn't make the list for me, but it was certainly on my radar.
Yeah, and this one I made a list originally, and I didn't have it on my list. Then I added it. It has two actually pretty good attacks. The second one, I guess it's more important, is Spit Shot. For
Yeah.
3 colors, it does 160 snipe to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Notably, this was partner for Welder, and in
Yes.
my opinion, the best Sword and Shield era partner for Welder. The other contender was Scorch VMAX, but
Hmm.
I mean, okay, that's like hard that you like. I don't know. You just like seem to like ignore, which is fine, I guess.
Scented Scorch.
Yeah,
Well, I can tell you why. For well, like you said, Welder, which was from the block before this, correct?
yeah. So when Welder rotated, it was not good.
Which Welder lets you accelerate two fire to is it any way
Anything.
you want?
To the same
Active,
Pokemon, but
just the same
yeah.
Pokemon can be the active as well, unlike Gardenia's Vigor. And you drew cards too. So it was tremendous. So you could set up a Cramorant. Well, so the discards. I mean, the attack spit shot, right? You discard all energy from this Pokemon, 3 energy. Discard all. That's definitely a downside,
Oh
but
yeah.
it does 160 to any one of your opponent's Pokemon. And for those that remember when this came out early on, the Dene GX, which rotated before, it was pre Sword and Shield, but was a great card, right? Within one of the all-time great cards, probably you could discard your hand and draw 6 fresh cards on playability. So that was 160. They'd leave it on the bench, they'd sit there, spit shot, 2 prizes, kind of there for the taking any point in the game. So that was really a nice option
Yeah, and then
with
I
it.
also want to talk about two other things with this card. First of all, B catch for 2 color or for 1 color.
Yep.
Then you just search for 2 cards, which is pretty all right. We've seen attacks like this in the past be
Hmm.
good. It's a bit of a weird one to use, kind of control oriented. But then we also saw it with we saw Cramorant V Max. It's a weird coin flip based card, but that saw a
Yep.
little bit of play. I don't know. I think Cramorant V is an all right card.
Yeah, it was one that was in my initial 35 when I did whatever it was, however many, and then I didn't think it was as strong as some of the others. It was strong early, I thought, as part of it. It didn't carry on as well, I would say, as the game developed over time.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm trying to think, but yeah, we'll see if it ends up making the top
I
20.
mean, I probably played this card more than you because I played the Tempo Zard box, which you didn't really play.
Yeah, I
And
didn't actually
Cramorant
play this
V
card that much.
was in that deck, and it was a question of do I play 1 or 2 copies of it? Probably, yeah, it always had it, so I certainly know it, and it's a very good card.
Yeah. Next up, moving on to the two lightning attackers.
Hmm.
And I think these are two pretty. I mean, they're good cards. The first one is Vikavolt V. Vikavolt V has item lock. It does 50 for 2 for lightning colors. Then also as an
Yep.
attack, 190 for 3, and you discard 2 energy attached to Pokemon, which isn't awful. You definitely use it from time to time.
Hmm.
Vikavolt was good at the beginning
Yeah.
and was good at the end. It was like super good at the beginning and super
Hmm.
good at the end. Arguably the best deck in format at both periods. Well, actually, wait a second.
Well, right,
Was it
because it had
ever
Pika Rom.
was it ever in format with Rhydon? Maybe not, but it was good. It was insane at the beginning, and it was decent at the end. I like saw playing like Lugia. I think
Yeah.
it was good.
Some. Yeah. Maridon came in after this rotated, right? Because
Yeah.
they weren't together. And the electric generator didn't overlap with it. But yeah, no, Vikavolt V, very good card. Again, that like Cramorant was on that list of cards that I was considering, but I didn't feel like it made it the top 20 for me. But a very, very strong card for sure.
Yeah, it is the only attacker on the, or I don't know if it's the only one, but it's one of the only attackers on this list that won I call it a pseudo world championship, the Players Online Global Championship, which was the replacement for the World Championship, and it was actually the first
Hmm.
one. It was a very big deal, and it won, and it was good. I
Okay.
mean, it was a peak ROM deck, but I think it played like 2 or 3 Vikavolt, so it was good.
Yes, no, it was a very good card. For sure. Deserves attention. Yeah, and obviously, item lock is powerful, and it still is, right? It's powerful. It always is an important thing. Pulling it off is not easy though.
Uh,
This did it pretty well.
oh yeah, like in general, like pulling that off wasn't that hard.
No, the Vikavolt is one of the easier item lock cards out there, right? You do need to get two energies on it, so you need energy acceleration. But yep.
Okay,
So
and then
yeah, go ahead. So I don't know what the other lightning is though. I knew Vikavolt was coming. That
so
had to be.
yeah, and then the other one is Raikou Amazing Rare, which I actually told you about this.
Oh
And
yeah.
that was and so they're amazing rares that are they all take three different types of energy. And then they have a big powerful attack, Raikou, for Grass Lightning
Yeah.
Metal,
Metal.
120 to the active, and 120 when your opponent's benched. This was insane at the end. Like right before, like the last two sets before it rotated, you got Lasso, and Lasso could
Hmm.
power this up in one turn. Not like the first turn, but in some point maybe turn like 2 to 3. You get this
Yeah.
powered up. You just like boost onto the board, and then your opponent's active and bench like dies, and then they concede. Maybe not, but and then it also had synergy. You could also play it with the Rayquaza Amazing Rare, and you play those two together. Rayquaza Amazing Rare, a really powerful one-shot Pokemon, and Raikou Amazing Rare, a great snipe Pokemon. And the other
Hmm.
one, other deck in which it saw play in was Lugia. I don't know exactly how much play it saw in Lugia because in Lugia you could also play um, Kyogre Amazing Rare, but I think Raikou Amazing Rare is pretty good as well. Um, Especially with its ability to one-shot Lugia, which is pretty impressive. You need a choice spell, but then you one-shot Lugia. Of course, they can't have like Dunsparce, but whatever. So you got Raikou Amazing Rare for that, and then also you have the one-shotter in the Yveltal Amazing Rare instead of Rayquaza. But Raikou here is
Right.
this really powerful snipe-based Pokemon. Um, it was insane at that end period.
Yeah. Okay. So Raikou is the only of the amazing rares that you put on your list.
Yeah, and we were
Um.
talking about this a little. It's somewhat representative of the other amazing rares.
Yeah.
Um, Not exactly though.
Yeah. No, it was a good card. I mean, I was never a big fan of the amazing rares. The energy cost obviously was very problematic for all of them. That's kind of the thing, right? Does 120 to two Pokemon the same as Urshifu for one prize? Of course, Urshifu you could set up easier than this
Ursula could
generally.
also hit two benched, which is
That's
good.
true. It was more flexible, yes. But of course, it was three prizes. That's a big trade off. Three different energy types. Now, one of the things I don't know that we're going to get into it, but in the energies, they did have special energies for all types during this block too, which is why with Lugia could power these cards up, right? It was a big
Yeah,
change, Lugia losing those energies. So, um,
yeah. Although it mainly used Aurora energy as well, which we'll talk about, I think.
yeah. So yeah. So okay. So those are all your attackers, and
Yeah, let me double check. And do you want to talk about honorable mentions as well, or not right now?
uh, yeah, for attackers, yeah, I had two others. Let me add Vikavolt to this list I have. I sorry as I'm going, but I had one you already mentioned, which is the Centiskorch.
Yeah,
VMAX was I was considering it because it was very good. Now I never played it twofold. It was good only initially when Welder was around. Once Welder rotated, I don't think it was that good after that. Partly
yeah.
just the meta changing too, and also the economy of PTCGO. And we were newer players, so it didn't have as many resources. A new card like that was super expensive in PTCGO because it was trade based. So the new big card was very expensive. So I couldn't touch it when it was out. I could, get it later on, but at that point,
Well, it
it,
came
it
out in the same time as Eternatus. And I think the
yeah.
Sunscorch
And
deck was probably cheaper than Eternatus.
I pulled I opened a lot of Darkness Ablaze packs, and I ultimately pulled a bunch of Eternatus pieces. So
Okay.
that's part of the randomness of it too. But anyway, and yeah, no. So Santa Scorch, and then Victini VMAX, because I
Wait,
also
that
looked at
rotated?
Limit. It wasn't that one.
No,
Oh wait, did I miss?
The V
No, I'm
rotated,
sorry.
but
The V rotated. I apologize. So forget that. Yeah, just the V
yeah, you
rotated,
could
which
put
actually made
Duraludon on too.
the deck better. Yeah, actually Duraludon would be. So I forget
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's right. I got
15EV was
confused
all
about
right,
that.
but yeah.
It wasn't that good. So yeah. So Santa Scorch, was a consideration, and that was kind of it for attackers for me.
Okay, I had one more, and that was one near and dear to my heart, and that is Decidueye. Decidueye is it was pretty
Hmm.
good. It was a good wall. It's immune to V's and GXs, which were the multi-prize Pokemon. And there were a lot of decks playing those, so it was very good. Of course, if your opponent teched against it, it was not so good. But assuming they didn't, it was very good.
Right, you played that at the second POG championship and almost made top cut. You made day two easily, and was a win away from top cut
Yeah,
there.
and
So
it was a very good deck. Ben, overall, it was just a pretty solid deck because a lot of people like aren't prepared for it. Um,
yes.
I don't know if it belongs to the top 20. Originally you made mine that I cut it and then I added it and I cut it
Hmm.
and yeah.
Yeah, I kind of considered it. Didn't get in my top 30, 35. Oh, the other card, which I didn't even get my top 30. At one point, I was considering Poltergeist, right? The Mad
Oh
Party,
yeah, yeah.
which I liked, and I think you probably enjoyed it too. That was a lot of fun. And Poltergeist was probably the best one in that it was an attacker, but it was also the engine piece for it too. So I was thinking representative partly of the Mad Party scene, Poltergeist. But again, it doesn't belong in the top 20.
Yeah, I also had that. And so I'll remove these from the list now. So I'll go with the engine pieces now, and I'm gonna
Yep.
start off with the one that I hope you have, and that's Crobat VMAX.
Croat V
V
Max.
V
Whoa.
Crobat
Okay.
V wrong card.
Yes. I mean, yeah,
And
that's yeah, no, I figured I was like, I hope I don't say V Max because the V Max is not a top 20 card.
yeah, and
Um
then just Crobat V, and you play Crobat VMAX. You play Crobat VMAX a lot.
I did.
It's-
I really wanted it to work in that, and I was like a hit and run deck with wheezing, but it wasn't all that good, as what I will have to confess. So
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, you got Crobat V, which is draws till you have 6 cards in hand. It was very good. Uh,
right.
it was always like a second runner to Dedenne until Dedenne rotated,
Hmm.
and Crobat was still always kind of like considered a worse Dedenne, but Dedenne
Yeah.
was, as we said, insane. And Crobat being second runner to that is fine. And then Eternatus, it was naturally synergetic with Eternatus VMAX.
Right. Playing
Essentially
Eternatus,
required, I'd say.
right, because that was your engine. Eternus had no engine Pokemon, but you'd play four Crobat Vs, and because your bench was eight wide, you could play four Crobat Vs over the course of the game. So, but yeah, I mean Crobat V, the dark gas, that's the name of the ability. It could attack. Attack wasn't great, but it was very universal, right? So many decks played it because this was you right, draw the F6 in hand. Obviously, you had to shrink your hand first, but just a really strong support Pokemon. Um, this saw a lot. It was in just a ton of decks, so I think it's well deserving of the top 20.
Yeah. And then I also have, I think that's my only multi-prize engine piece. So
Okay.
I'll move on to, let's see, I'll go to some colorless ones here. I
Okay.
actually have one, and that's Oranguru.
You only have one color. Okay, I have
Well, yeah,
another color.
yeah, I think I know. Oranguru, which lets you put a card from your hand
Primate
on top.
Wisdom ability.
Yeah. Which lets you switch the
That,
card in your hand with the top card of your deck. This allows you to set up certain combos, notably with
hmm
Zacian, you can like, get an energy. It was, I guess it was good in uh,
it was good in
Colossal.
Mad. Yeah, none of us really played that. It was good in
No,
Mad
Colossal was
Party
bad.
because
Yeah,
you couldn't like you were always discarding your hand and couldn't discard your special energies, so you'd put back a special energy.
and then you get a
We have
special energy.
yeah, unfortunately sometimes, but at least it gave you hope for a moment. And I don't know, an item card that was in format was Rotom Phone that let you look at the top, well, which we might get to later. That paired well with Oranguru as well, and Zacian, as you said, right? I think did you say Zacian it paired with
Yeah,
or no? Because you would take an energy from hand a lot of times, you put it back on top of your deck. So when Intrepid Sword, you were guaranteed to hit at least one energy. That was one use in that deck. So yeah, it was a very good support Pokemon and useful in a lot of decks, I think.
yeah, and then it was even more good because there's essentially no shuffle draw that was played. So you'd have
Hmm.
like discard draw or shuffle onto the bottom of your deck, then draw. And in doing so, you'd always hit the card you have with Primary Wisdom, meaning that you could store cards with
Right.
it for the next turn, which is really nice.
Right. I mean, the main hand disruption cards we might get to later on caused you to shuffle, put on the bottom, and draw from the top. So you're guaranteed to hit it with a Rangaroo then. So you'd either draw it for turn or you'd get forced into it during your opponent's turn. So yeah,
Yep.
a,
And then
a very
do you have one that starts with C and ends with O?
it does yes. So the mighty. Well,
Oh,
Chinchino. What
oh,
is it? A
yeah.
mouse? I don't know what the
It's
thing
a
is.
chinchilla.
Oh, Chinchilla. Okay, that
I
makes
don't really know
sense.
what like a chinchilla is, but that's what it is.
No, I don't know either. That's just why. Yeah. Okay. I assume may probably looks like so Chinchino with the make do ability, which is what Curly is now, but you discard a card from hand and then you draw two cards. So one, it was one of this was probably the number two engine of this block, is what I'd say.
Um, yeah.
For single
So you have
prize,
yeah. I mean, it's I'm also comparing. Think of Crobat, and arguably Crobat's better, but they're quite different.
yeah. Well, it's something you can reuse every turn, let's say, right? In that
It's probably the
Crobat
best.
obviously is a single use.
It's probably the best. You could use every turn.
Well, that's true. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
get
the
into the
other
other
one,
card that
yeah,
is probably better than it, but it was that was yeah. This Chinchino, once it was down, you used it every turn, just like Curlia. So, you know, helping that Malamar deck work that much better. That's what I would say
uh,
it was
uh,
for.
something like that. But see, when I was thinking of Chinchino, I was thinking, what is its legacy? Because being in the Hall of Fame is about like your legacy, right?
Hmm.
And what did people like think of Ticino? And Ticino is always what's this saying like second? It's not second trumpet, is it?
I'm
Like
not sure,
a
but
second, like
it's
second
like runner
behind.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's like
think though for the One Players Cup, with the Urshifu deck with was it Azul or somebody played a Chinchino engine, I think,
no,
right, to win
I
it
think, and then they no,
or
I think
top.
that was the second displaced Urshifu deck. Let me look at this.
Maybe it was. I don't remember, but it was but it was in some big time. It was a it was a meaningful card. I think it's a deserving top 20 card. I really do. But we'll see what else we have to put in. Um, right, it's very good as an engine
Yeah, no,
piece,
no,
right?
the number one build was the Jirachi build by Azul, and
Jirachi.
then
Okay, yeah,
Tori finished fourth with
Torino,
Chinchino.
and he doesn't know anything. So
Exactly.
okay,
No, I
so
mean,
Jirachi,
it
yeah,
came up short. So
so it came up,
I think
yeah.
that's kind of what it's known for. It's known for being almost good. And like it's always, it's like worse than Jirachi. It's worse than the other one that we're going to talk about as well. And then we've seen before it, we
Oh,
had Zorak, yeah, GX, which was insane with the same ability. And then after we
yeah.
had Curlier, which is insane with the same ability, but
Although
clearly better
the
than Chinchilla in terms of play, at least better than Chinchilla.
Well, I don't know if that's true. Look, it's a 90 HP Pokemon. Level Ball didn't come out for a while, but eventually it came out with some play, and Level Ball makes it that much better. The other thing is the attack on Chinchino is good, though.
I mean, it's
As-
usable. It's like all
It
right.
was
It's not.
usable, unlike most Curly decks can't use it. Look, 40 damage, and you accelerate an energy from the discard pile to your bench
Well,
Pokemon.
I
That
think
that
Ralts' attack is probably better than Chichino's attack. The good
if
attacking
you
Ralts.
but this is colorless. Don't forget.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you wouldn't really use. You'd essentially never use this attack.
It wasn't ideal.
I mean, actually, there'd be weird situations, but like very weird
You
situations.
could take out the Mad Party, right?
Yeah, Bunnelby.
The Bunnelby, exactly. So it matched that perfectly. But yeah, okay. Look, Chinchino's a solid card. We'll debate later where it belongs. Okay.
Okay. So let's move on to a solider card. I'm assuming you have no more colors, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Drizzile.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, Drizzile, very good. Why would I like type in more things to Drizzile? Just the order of the Drizzile switch. What? Okay. Um, so we got Drizzile with this ability Shady Dealings, which says
Yeah.
when you it's a stage one again, less 90 HP, so it's livable, searchable. When you evolve into it,
Hmm.
search your deck for a trainer and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this can get a trainer, which in turn can pretty much get anything. Um,
Right.
and then we saw the Inteleon which I had on my list. Did you have Inteleon on your list or not?
No, I did not because it was one I considered and dropped out. But you have it on your list, right?
Yeah, I do. And that's the same ability, except you get two, but it's on a stage two, and you use it to evolve from the Drizzile. And then there's also another Inteleon, which had its ability that lets you ping, which was really
Right.
nice. A nice, like, just simple addition. And then you
Hmm.
had the Sobble that let you set up other Sobbles as well, and other Rapid Strike Pokemon, which was, again, very good. Or decent. It was, like, good setup.
Right. I mean, the Sobble with Keep Calling came out later. The Inteleon with the pinging came out later. But and Level Ball came out later too because that's part of why Drizzile was a bit ignored. Chinchino was the better engine early on, right
Was better
before
than
Drizzile.
Drizzile, but it was still
Yes.
behind Dene and behind Jirachi as well.
Okay, all right. I get it. It was better than Drizzile, which you think is better though. Early on, Chichino was better. I do think
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
that's
think
the
that's true.
case.
But then it
Um,
got surpassed, and Chinchilla wasn't like great early on anyway. I can't like think of any Chinchilla decks
yeah,
off the top of my head.
no, I mean, not great decks probably. I can think of lots of decks I played, but they probably wouldn't be great decks. But Drizzile became great, right? It was the best engine in the game for a long period of time. Towards the end, right, the last year of it being around, probably when you had
Lovable, Scoop of
Level
Net, you
Ball, Scoop of
had
Net,
Path,
yeah. You
and you
had
had these.
the Sobble to keep calling. You had the Intellion that could ping. It was just tremendous, tremendous. And the one thing you didn't mention on the Intellion, which I guess that one was not on my list, Drizzile certainly was. The attack on Intellion was useful too. For Aqua Bullet, does 120 and 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It was an important attacker for some situations as well.
Yeah, there was like an Inteleon attacking deck essentially.
Yeah. So that's a little plus on that Intellion. But Intellion was a stage two. Drizzile, I think, is more prominent. Sometimes, you'd play at least usually like three Drizziles. You might play one Intellion in the deck, especially of the Shady Dealings Intellion. So, Drizzile was just used more.
Yeah,
But
yeah, Drizzile is definitely
but
better than Inteleon.
but we'll get to that debate later on. So that both very good cards there, with the Shady Dealings being just a tremendous, tremendous ability.
Yeah, and then I have one more Pokemon on my list. Um,
Okay.
so that's Rillaboom, which I wasn't sure whether I wanted to add or not, but I ended up
Rillaboom.
adding. Yeah,
Wow.
Rillaboom was good. Rillaboom had awful partners. Had a few good ones, and it went a long way with them. Like even Delmise, which is a garbage Pokemon. Um,
Oh man,
no, Delmise isn't like awful, but it's not great, and Rillaboom like made it better. This one I
Rillaboom.
wasn't.
This is the one with voltage beat ability.
Yeah, so
Ability,
it lets you
correct?
search the deck for two grass energy and accelerate them to one of your Pokemon. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
This was an era where stage twos weren't good and grass Pokemon also weren't good, but Rillaboom was still able to
Right.
see play, notably in their Route and Lone Executor deck, which was actually a pretty good deck. And then later on with, I guess that was mostly, you could play it with like Delmise as well, which wasn't that good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Rillaboom. I feel like Rillaboom is a good Pokemon, um, but
It's
maybe it
good.
doesn't belong here.
I didn't make my list. It didn't make my consideration either, I will say. Obviously, it's grass only. I mean, and it was an ability you could use every turn.
Yeah,
Circling two energy every turn from deck, tremendous. Stage twos were really awkward back then. And again, like you said, grass wasn't that good. I always loved to play Delmise and tried to get it work, which this kind of sort of made it work, or at least gave you a shot at it, I guess. But obviously that deck came up short still most of the time. Um, so it just the partners that it worked with, there weren't many strong decks that it went into historically, I'd say.
yeah. If you want a reason to show why Rillaboom is good, though, Rillaboom's ability is essentially the same thing as Archeops. Archeops does do special energy, which gives it a little more
Right.
versatility, but in the current meta, that's mostly colorless. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty much just like Rillaboom.
Yeah. Well, and Rillaboom's only one type also. But honestly, look, if this was in standard now, it would definitely. And now we have rare candy decks being a bigger thing too. It would definitely. Hey, I'd rather play this over my Fortress EX, and I'm willing to play Fortress EX. So,
Yeah.
I'd play this.
Hmm.
Um, so I have two other support Pokemon that didn't make the list, just to mention. One is Snorlax with the Gormadize.
Yeah, that's a good card, I guess. It didn't make my list either, but
So, which was you draw. Do you shuffle? You just draw. You draw to seven cards. It has to be the active spot. You draw to seven cards. Your turn ends. It was really a setup Pokemon, largely for single prize or counter decks, is what it was there for, or control decks.
yeah. I personally
But it was
found
in.
that. You
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
It was in a number of decks though, so it had that going for it. But like I said, it didn't make my list.
Yeah, I think it was. So as I said, I play control. I actually didn't play too much control during this time. It was actually really good and fun, but it was weird. And then because control actually had some cards banned, it was weird,
Hmm.
like actually banned. Unlike we were talking about Hoopa, which wasn't exactly actually banned, but
It was
eh,
banned because the game wasn't handling it properly.
yeah, it was glitch, kind of like how What's
Yeah,
been
like
banned
when
in
the
live? Oh, it wasn't like Mew
like
or something banned in live.
well, like the ability lock cards, right, or whatever.
Oh yeah, like of all like
Oh,
a bunch of cards.
right, got banned for like a month.
Yeah. But anyway, so the control actually had stuff banned. Or one
Yeah,
card banned, but Snorlax, I think it was generally outclassed by Zacian. Like, um,
yeah.
so that I think it's oftentimes not that good. It's okay. I mean, it's good, but it's not the best.
It was a consideration for a number of decks, is what I'll say. And then this other card, which wasn't as played, but I think I like it more, and you probably like this more too, and that's Galarian Meowth. I know that was a useful card. I would certainly love it to be back in standard again, right? Evolution Roar, you discard 2 cards to use the ability, which lets you search your deck for a Galarian Berserker. Most of the time, the decks didn't play the Galarian Berserker. That was the stage one that evolved from it, but it was just a way ability once per turn you could discard 2 cards, and discarding cards is very tough these days,
Yeah, but
right?
back then it wasn't.
It
So
wasn't, but you played it too.
I
You
did
did.
play. I played it in Mustard. Um,
So it had its place. So anyway, it didn't make my list, but anyway, okay. So
and then
those are all the Pokemon.
I had one more.
Oh, do you have one more?
On my like extra list, which was Eldegoss V.
Okay.
Eldegoss V.
Yeah, that was
Um,
I was tossing that one around. Yes,
it actually had its own attacking deck. Believe it or not. But have you heard of that deck?
it wasn't a control deck
Yeah, it was like a
or a spell,
control deck where you'd like attack with it and you like hit and run. It was a
right?
thing.
Because float up for 2 energy does 50 damage, and you shuffle the Pokemon and all attached cards into your deck. So it was a way to make your deck not run out, right?
Yeah. And then also you get to play it again, and its ability here says when you play it, you recover a supporter,
Yeah.
you recover Cheryl, and then you chill
From your
forever.
discard pile into hand.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
that's good. That's why I saw play. It was pretty
Yeah.
good, but it wasn't probably quite good enough.
Yeah, it was in my thought too. It was like, I was kind of early days. I kind of kicked it around, but then as I looked around, it just didn't not good enough compared to everything else. But a useful card too.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, and that's it for Pokemon. So now let's move on to
Yeah.
let's do energies. Do you have
I have
anything?
14 Pokemon, by the way. Do you?
I have in your life 13 now. It's fine.
All
We'll
right,
get
we'll
back to. Oh,
figure
I
that out
don't have
later. Okay,
Rillaboom. I
so
forgot to put Rillaboom.
that he
Yeah,
was your Pokemon.
I know, I know.
All
Well, I'm
right.
rebuilding the list. Anyway, so
Okay.
let's do special energies. Do you have any? I have
Or
one.
energies, right? Can I use basic? Can I
Oh wait, no, maybe I
I
cut
have
the special energy. Maybe not. I don't know.
I have 2 energy,
Are they
and there
Aurora
was
energy
two
and
other good
capture
ones to
energy?
mention. Yes.
Okay.
So
So
look,
you tell me
Aurora,
why they're good.
you like Aurora. Well, I'll tell you Capture, because Capture I think is better, but you think Aurora is better.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
I
don't
might have
have
cut
either on your
both of
list,
them.
by the
I
way?
don't know. I've like changed my list and I've lost it. So
So,
I don't remember if my final list
all
had
right,
Aurora or not.
you didn't have Capture. So Capture I think is the better one. It was in a lot of decks. When you play it, provides one colorless energy. When you play it from your hand to one of your Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. So
It's Nest Ball.
most nest ball and counts your energy. And there wasn't nest ball at the time, of course. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
an
Well, the
additional
Nest
Pokemon
Ball's
search.
worse than the one that we had at the time.
Yeah, it depends, right? But
I
we
mean, I
can
think it's almost like a nine. Like it's generally regarded as a worse card.
okay, but we'll say. But capture energy was in a lot of decks, right? A lot of attackers have multiple energy. Take multiple Most attackers take more than one energy to attack, and most of them take some colored energy plus some colorless energy. So it would pay for the colorless and set up your board, right? So it went into a lot of decks, which so I think it's got a lot of versatility, and it was very useful. Just setting up, getting going.
Yeah, I think it was overplayed. I don't think it was that good. Um, you know,
Oh man,
I don't know. I just never was a big fan of the card. It was all right. Um, like
so
what decks played. I'm trying to like think, and I can think of some, but nothing
well,
like that good.
the decks I liked to play played it. Ice Rider played it.
But Ice Rider doesn't want capture it because it's two waters.
No, that's true. Sorry,
Inteleon.
the V. The Talion could. Suicune V played it for sure, probably
Yeah.
because that was one colorless, and you need that had the Intelligent Engine and the Ludicolo's, which that rotated too, right? By the way, that was a good card, but
No,
it doesn't make
Ludicolo
the.
didn't. The
Oh, it's still in
middle
format, right?
evolution one,
Yeah,
the
I'm
middle
sorry.
evolution
That's right.
rotated.
The Lombre or whatever. You're right. Ludicolo is still around, but it was, there were decks that played it. Blissey played it, of course. You never forget Blissey.
Hmm.
So look, there were a lot of decks because I looked at Limitless too to see like kind of the top couple decks and looked at a couple lists for each of these blocks. Generally, a lot of lists played a couple Capture Energy.
Yeah, I didn't think it was over. I think it was overplayed.
Well, but look, if it provided your part of your attack cost, you had to attach those per turn. It helps you set up. It was potentially very good. So we'll
Yeah,
get
it was
later
an
what
all
it
right
deserves in
card.
the top 20. And then the one you like more is Aurora, and I think this is not as good as Capture because it's better in some ways too. I right. So
Well,
you can
arguably it
attach,
broke the format. So, near the
but
end,
not exactly right.
well, I mean, it like became like arguably the best Sword and Shield deck ever.
Which deck was that? Oh,
Lugia
the
with
ADP.
with Aurora, huh?
Yeah, ADP.
No, Lugia Vista with
Oh,
Aurora.
look, that was at the end.
That
Yeah,
was
well,
so good. That was like,
that's because Lugia Archeops was broken. That was
well, Lugia
I don't
Archeops isn't broken now. It was broken
well
with
because
Aurora
they got
Energy.
rid of all the
Like,
energies. All right,
well, yeah, but like still.
make a case for Aurora, and then I have something else I got to say.
Lugia, Archeops, and ADP.
So Aurora Energy, what it does if you don't know
Oh
it,
yeah.
because he won't say that, you attach it to a Pokemon. You have to discard a card from your hand to play it, and then it provides one of whatever type of energy you want. So very good. You had to discard, which usually was okay. So gave a lot of flexibility. You like to play Zoroark too, and this certainly made Zoroark better as well. And unlike Luminous
Yeah,
Energy,
I
you
guess.
you,
You
you,
didn't see
you
too
weren't
much play
limited
as
to
well.
one special energy, right? In
Yeah.
ADP. So it was like early days, it was tremendous. Best deck and format with
Yeah,
ADP,
I'll say
probably,
I
right?
didn't see that much play in ADP. I saw play in ADP near the end when you added the bird trio,
Mm,
which wasn't a trio because you didn't play
mm,
the Articuno. But yeah.
yeah. And then with Lugia, it just made that deck broken. So it was look, it's a very good card. I think they both deserve consideration. These two energies. The other thing, which is the Lugia thing, is we did have a special energy for every type, which none of those I think deserve the top 20. But the fact that they existed was interesting. There are two other energies that were good. Twin energy, that doesn't make the list, but very good. Only on
Wait,
single
you said
prize.
none of the other specific types are on your list, but there's only three
No.
non-specific type ones.
Well, those eight, but you had for each of the eight types, you had a special energy. I'm just
No,
saying
there's nine.
collectively.
Powerful colorless is one. Is that on your list?
Well, that's not a that's I have two other ones that are like honorable mention. I have twin energy, which was very good, right? And that
Yeah,
would be
Twin
very
was
good now
good, I suppose.
on what like a non-rule box Pokemon, right, or something like that.
Yeah, non-V or GX actually. So
So if it was in standard now, you could play it on EXs. So it would be completely broken. It provides two energy without the reduction that DTE does. And then powerful energy was very good too.
yeah, which is a type-based energy.
I guess I don't think of it as that, but
I know, but it
because
was. If you like look at them, I'm looking at them all visually. Actually, Twin looks kind of similar, but the others are all like identical, including powerful, because they're
okay,
type-based. Anyway,
I
so
guess it's a type. That's kind of weird because I was looking at one of the poke at. Well, never mind. It has nothing to do with anything, so we'll skip that.
yeah, okay. And then let's
So
see.
Aurora and Capture on my list. Then that's it for energies. Unless you want to say more.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then let's see. Oh,
All
sorry.
right.
So
So
we got two Pokemon search cards. We'll cover 2 for 1 here, which I'm assuming both on your
so
list.
we're gonna do items first. There's items, traders,
Um,
stadiums, tools. I have all four on my list, by the way.
let's go through. Yeah, let's do items first.
Items is the most interesting of the bunch.
Okay, let's just do the others first then. Let's do tools. What do you have one? Is it air balloon?
I have one air balloon. Actually, I have two. So
Two.
air balloon, I have two because
Is that a
because
big
these are
charm?
universal cards. So air balloon, I wish this was in format now. It was tremendous. Retreat cost of a Pokemon card's attached to reduced by 2. Obviously, like a card like Zacian needed it. So right to get out, it provide one of your retreats. So a very good tool. Played in like most decks played this right. And decks sometimes would play air balloon and not switch or rope because air balloon would get you there.
Yeah.
Is that it's not on your list though, correct?
It is. It is on my list. Yeah.
So all right, so both of us have that. So you agree, very good card.
Yeah. I don't know if it's top
We'll see
10,
how good.
but
Okay. And then the other is Big Charm, which you don't have, I assume.
no, I don't have big charm. I think
That's
it's.
the only. only tool you have is air balloon, right? So
Yeah.
big charm, just hitting it quickly. A Pokemon gets plus 30 HP, and it works for any Pokemon. Rule box, non-rule box, basic, evolution. So it was it was a nice option.
I actually
That's what
think
I'll
that
say.
Cape of Toughness was better than Big Charm. Which is Cape of
It,
Toughness was actually is directly worse than Bravery Charm, but it's
well,
plus 50 to
was
basics.
it worse?
Well, it's
Oh,
no than Bravery Charm, the new one. It's directly worse.
Cape of Toughness.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
because it wouldn't work on GXs, you mean?
yeah, but then but
Okay.
it's plus 50 to a basic, which is good. Um,
Yes, and
yeah,
Cape of Toughness was one that that I had and got rid of.
yeah, that one's soft play. Big Charm didn't see that much play, I don't think.
It would go in decks. I
It
mean,
saw
it
niche
was
play from here and there, but it didn't like make any
okay.
decks.
Fair enough. And then the other tool, just briefly, Big Parasol,
Yeah, that
which
was a pretty good card.
especially at the end, right? Well, it had times early on as well, but would stop you from getting Sableye, would stop things like that, right? Later on.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I think that's like it's a good card, but it's not that good.
it wasn't used most of the time though, so that's why. So I
Oh wait,
have
wait, wait, wait.
here.
There's one more we should probably talk about as well. One that
Okay.
oh, this didn't win the World Championships. I think it might have came second. But that's
Okay.
Memory Capsule.
Oh, that's
Uh,
okay. So memory
the
capsule.
Jolteon, which turned off Inteleon, right? Which we don't have Jolteon
Oh
on the
yeah.
list.
No. So memory capsule. The Pokemon this card is attached to, and these were items back in the day, as well as being tools. This attached to can use any attacks from its previous evolution. So that's what it did. That was the memory, remembering the older attacks. And
yeah,
then the Jolteon was if you had memory capsule attached, it turned off abilities of water Pokemon. Was that what it was?
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve to be on this list, but it was a good card.
No.
It did, I think, came second at Worlds or something.
Okay.
Supporters, I have one. Wait, do I have one supporter? Or no, wait, no, we have stadiums. Let's do
Stadiums. Yes.
stadiums next. I had one stadium, which was training court,
Yeah, that's the one I have as well. Um,
and I
very,
got
very
it.
good.
Yeah, and it recovers us. You once in your turn, you can recover an basic energy from your discard into your hand, which
Hmm.
is good.
Yes, I mean very good. It went into a number of different decks. And it was useful, and there were some decks that kind of really leaned on this that you needed to get those energies back. So it was good. Um,
Mustard.
your mustard deck because you had nothing in hand, yes, to make it work. So you could do that and pull off your Beedrill attack, right, or
Yeah,
whatever you had to
yeah.
do.
It's like the only way to guarantee energy, but essentially. So yeah, that was a
The
card.
Yeah, it was a good card. The
Yeah,
other stadium, which I didn't quite make it, but it was close. Didn't make the cut at the end. Is Galarmine, right? Increased retreat cost by 2 of both active Pokemon.
yeah.
Good for
Galamine's
counter
pretty
decks.
good. Well, control decks.
Yes, and
Um,
Leafeon VMAX too.
yeah, yeah. I guess it was very good for Leafeon, which was actually a very good deck. Um, I think Galamine actually might be better than Training Court. I don't know. I was just kind of flip flopping. I'm gonna pop both in my list. And
All right,
then
I'll put Galarmine in as well then.
yeah, and then let's see. Supporters. I just have one supporter. And that
Yeah,
supporter is Marnie.
I gotta say I was shocked when I put it together that I realized I only had one supporter I wanted in the top 20. That I was just so surprised by. I gotta
Yeah, I
say.
mean Boston like research are like so good that they actually like
Right.
shut everything else out, and Boston research aren't in contention for this list, and presumably will never be in the Hall of Fame. But that that's fine.
Because they're never going to rotate.
Yeah,
Boss has been out, right? They could bring back Guzma
no,
or something,
well,
right?
no they the boss well no these both Boston research were first introduced in Sword and Shield. So if we look
Okay,
back further, we can see equivalent cards: Lysander, then Professor Juniper, Professor Sycamore, and then Guzma is also there, which is different, but
right.
yeah, that's before.
So yeah, so Marnie, each player shuffles their hand into their bottom of their deck, puts it on the bottom of the deck. If the player that plays the card draws to 5, the other opponent draws 4.
Yeah, which
So
is good.
similar to Judge.
And also
That's
similar
where I
to
mark.
Iono, kind of.
Yes, I mean it's marginally it's better than Judge almost always because you get one more card, but it's just that little bit better, right?
Yeah, I
Because
mean drawing
shuffling
extra
going to
cards like quite good.
It is, but yeah. So look, it was very good. It was in basically every deck. You had Boss, Research, and Marnie, and then it's just a matter of what counts of each of those three cards that you played, right?
And you might have Welder as well,
That's
which
yeah.
was
But
earlier,
once
but
once
yeah.
Welder rotated, often other
And then you
supporters
play
would.
Melanie, and then you can play Melanie instead.
Yes, I love to play Melanie. But yes, but that wasn't so universal, right? The Marnie was in basically every deck. I downgraded Marnie a little bit in that Judge came out before Marnie rotated, right? And Judge is just a little bit worse than Marnie. It's worse than Marnie, don't get me wrong, but almost always, right? It shuffles
Yeah.
in rather than going to the bottom, but you get one less card, but only one less card, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I wouldn't downgrade Marnie because it's good. I think that's silly.
I guess the fact that there was another card that almost did the same thing almost hurts at my mind. But look,
Yeah.
Marnie was great. It deserves to be in the top 20, no doubt. The other supporter I had that almost made the list was Birdkeeper.
Yeah, Birdkeeper, Switch, Draw 3. It's a decent card as well.
And it was in a number of decks. This might have been after Research Boss and Marnie, the next supporter for general play. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
that's probably true.
But it, but
Leon's
but it's a
also
big
decent,
drop off.
which is just
Yeah,
plus 30.
yeah, Leon, yes. Leon plus 30 damage that turn. Yeah, was good. And if it was around, it would certainly see play today, I would imagine.
Yeah, but not too much. I didn't see that much. But then we get into the items, which I have,
Yep.
not counting tools, I have one, two, three, four, five.
All right, I have
So,
five too, so maybe we'll see if they're the same.
okay, so I have Quick Ball.
Quick
So,
ball, no way. Yeah,
yeah, so Quick
that.
Ball, arguably the best card on this list. Discard a card from your hand, and then search your deck for a basic, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck.
Right.
Pretty much every deck in the game played for Quick Ball. It was very, very good.
Right, and unlike Nest Ball, now you have to discard, but having some discard is good generally. Discarding one's not prohibitive usually, and then it allows you to use on play abilities, which Nest Ball does not allow you to do. Right, that's kind of where Quick Ball is generally better than Nest Ball. It goes into hand, not onto the bench automatically.
Yeah, and
Um,
activate discard. Right now, there's literally no card in the game, I believe, that discards just one card from your hand. Paradox Rift will actually be introducing cards like that, which is super cool. But as of now, there's not. So Quick
we
Ball.
have the Stadium.
Which stadium?
You discard one, draw one, don't you?
Oh, it's an
Isn't that
item. Discard or discard an energy. Draw one.
okay? All right.
So not
So
as first off.
no. So quick ball, super good for getting stuff in the discard and just super good for getting Pokemon. And of course, you had Crobat, you had the Dene on play abilities. So quick ball, just, yeah, four quick balls every deck, basically. Um, it deserves to be there.
Yeah, and then I have a card that I originally forgot, but then I added in. That's Evo Incense. Search deck for an evolution
Yes.
Pokemon put in your hand. It's essentially the other side of Quick Ball.
Hmm.
Obviously, not evolution decks you wouldn't play it, and there are even some evolution decks where you wouldn't play it, but overall, it's very good. It
It's
was broken
super. I
with
mean,
Inteleon because it essentially turned into do whatever you want, and like you can
right.
literally do anything this turn.
Well, and we have in, Ultra Ball now, but discarding two sometimes, a lot of times, doesn't feel good. I think you'd acknowledge that too. So just getting that one evolution, super good. This is a card, one of the few. I put this near the top list of cards I wish I had an option for deck building today.
Yeah, that's probably true. It depends on the deck you're running, but I don't
Because
know.
there's not a good replacement for this card today. There's discarding two, like I said, with Ultra Ball can be rough.
Yeah, and
So
I'd say Ultra Ball is kind of covering double duty of Quick Ball and Evo Incense, which a lot of decks
yeah.
played for both. And
Hmm.
then the next best card is, I guess, Capture Aroma, which is okay, but it's not great.
Right. But yeah, but Evo in this one's one where I think at the time we wouldn't have ev- losing Evo Incense didn't seem like that, like one of the top cards we were losing. But I think as time's gone on, to me, this is one of the top cards we lost.
Maybe. I mean, it's a very good card. And then let's see. I also have Ordinary Rod.
Yes,
It's kind of like Super
I have
Rod,
that
except
too.
it's two Pokemon and two basic energy. Um, I mean, it's good. It's essentially Super Rod.
Right. Which is better is situational, right? This can get you four cards, which could be better, but this it's you can't get three of one of one or the other. It's up to two of each
Yeah.
Pokemon, up
Um,
to two in basic energy.
yeah. And then I also have what was it? I think of and then I had arguably another one of the arguably best. That's Scoop Up Net.
Right,
I
which we
like
mentioned
Razor.
before, and that's just tremendous. Again, this card I guess would be broken now if it was
Yeah,
in
I mean it's kind
standard
of
like this.
broken in Lost Zone.
Yes, it was, but now
You
with the
could like stabilize
EXs,
turn one. Oh, you can technically still stabilize turn one, but like you could you could definitely Mirage Gate turn one. That was like definitely a thing that happened.
well, and now they have other things like Jet Energy and Switch Cart too that weren't around early on. It
Well, yeah,
was
but Scoop Up Net allows you to pull off.
you
Wait,
could
when did
reuse
Switch
the
Card
same
come?
card.
When did Switch Card come out?
I don't remember. Well, I think that you. I don't think Switch Cart was in the original Lost Zone set, was it?
I don't remember. Maybe not. Yeah, it was
Uh,
Astral Radiance, so it was out. People just play like Rope and then Switch. Or no, they played Rope and Net. So
yeah.
they wouldn't play
So
Switch
Scoop
Card.
Up Net though, it allows you put one Pokemon that isn't a V or a GX into your hand, discard all attached cards. So you'd lose energy tools, but you'd scoop up your Sobble and Drizzile and maybe your Teleon. You'd play back down the Sobble and get ready for the next turn. Tremendous for that. You'd
Or more
scoop
likely
up.
play like some other like play back down a Sabo, evolve another Sabo into a Drizzile, and then maybe even evolve one of your other Drizziles into an Inteleon.
Correct. You do right. You do right. Well, right, and then you might play those down that turn still and stuff. It was crazy. A deck, right? It was great for a lot of decks. It was great for the Reggie's deck because you had the Reggie Drago that drew to 3 in hand, right? But you could get it out of
Forward.
play easily 4, and you could scoop it up, and then you could even use it again on the bench, right? Did it draw?
No,
No,
you
it had to
mean
be the active.
yeah, you can only use one per turn.
Okay,
You could
but
reuse Regigigas though,
okay,
which you
and
wouldn't really need to do because you don't need like 6 energy. But whatever.
oh, right. Sometimes, so it let you reuse things. So you which you mentioned for the pinging, obviously sometimes key for that. If you enjoy playing Lunatone Soul Rock, you could increase your acceleration for big damage on a turn. It gave you some retreating. It could get rid of a damaged Pokemon. It was just a terrific card.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Arguably one of the best cards ever. Uh, and kind of broken and expanded as well. And then the last one, let's say it
Okay.
at the same time. Three,
Oh, I don't.
two, one. Metal
I
Saucer.
got
Wait, what?
no. That's not what I have.
Yeah,
So I thought
do you have Capacious Bucket?
no.
You have Crushing
All right.
Hammer?
So
Wait,
what do
no,
you
Crushing
have?
Hammer didn't know.
Just what do you have? You
No,
have
I have
Metal
Saucer.
Saucer.
That's the last one.
Okay. Well, go ahead for Saucer, and I'll give you the real one that
I mean,
belongs.
Saucer, like Zacian was broken because of Metal Saucer.
No,
Uh,
there's yeah. No, look,
and
what's
Oh yeah,
Saucer
you
do? Let's
accelerate a basic metal from your discard to one of your bench metal Pokemon. Same
yep,
thing as Dark Patch, same thing as Aqua Patch. Both of those were actually I don't know
yep.
how good Aqua Patch was. Aqua Patch was all right. Dark Patch was when it first came out like super broken, and now it's actually not
Mm-hmm.
that good. But
Yep.
like Metal Saucer was insane. Zacian was arguably the best attacker in the game or ever, and Metal Saucer helped out a
Yes.
lot. It allowed you to turn one
Mm-hmm.
ADP. It was very good.
No, it was a tremendous
Oh,
card. Now,
Luke Metal
obviously,
as well. You like
right,
Luke Metal?
Luke
It was good
Metal,
there.
Zacian V, which was Zamazenta V, which was very good for a while there.
Oh, Dialga
And
as
me
well.
and Dialga was better for it. Yes. So look, a very good card. I don't. It was actually probably the 21st card on my list. So it just made the cut. I just didn't miss. It just missed the cut. I got to say. So it's very good, very good. You mentioned some other good ones. The other card that I have though is Rotom Phone.
Proton
Don't sleep
Phone?
on Rotom Phone. See, I knew you were going to hate on that,
I played it
but
in Mustard.
it's a very good card. You look at the top 5 cards, your deck, choose one of them, and shuffle the other cards back onto your deck, and you put the card you chose on top of your deck. So it sets the top card. We just talked about Zacian V. You just said how great it was, partly because of Metal Saucer, but partly because of Rotom Phone.
Well,
Don't forget
I
that.
don't really remember people playing Rotom Phone too much.
What made Oranguru so great? Rotom Phone.
Well, no,
Don't
Oranguru
it
was good.
helped?
No, most Rotom. I don't know. You could do
Rotom Phone was good. What made Mew so good at one point? Rotom
Genesect,
Phone, because
Quick
Rotom
Ball, like
Phone,
everything
you put your
else.
stadium back on with Rotom Phone so you could bump Path after they marnied you.
Um, well,
It
you
was
just use
right.
well, or
They
you could
play your
just use
Path.
Oranguru, or you could just use
Well,
Rotom Phone
but
wasn't isn't a garbage card, but it's not like a particularly good card either.
universal than the metal saucer. So anyway, that made my 20th spot. So I thought you might be a hater, and you are. So, okay.
I was like, are you gonna pull out something crazy? And you did. Not like a good
Okay.
crazy though.
Rotom Phone was a better card than it gets credit for. It still is. Still not getting the credit it deserves. Okay. We've been going at this for a while though. So
Yeah.
we need to come up with 10, right?
Yeah. Well, let's do the top 20 first, I think.
Okay.
So right now, how many cards do you have? I have
I have
25.
27.
27?
Okay.
Wait, what do you have? How many Pokemon? 14.
14, 11, and 2.
Sorry, can you read your trainers off? I did not add Rotom Fennel, I'll tell you that.
Training Court. You got to put it down. Training Court, Ordinary Rod, Quick Ball, Air Balloon, Incense, Rotom Phone, Big Charm, Marnie, Net,
Oh, I forgot
Galarmine,
Net, apparently.
Metal Saucer.
That's good.
Net deserves it. Net's probably a top 10, I gotta say.
Yeah. Okay, so,
So
first of all, I think we should probably cut. So we need to cut down the 7. Wait.
I have 27. Are you at 27 now?
Yeah, I'm at 27 here. So, let's see. What should we cut? I think we should cut. Um,
You want to look at the trainers now?
I think we can. I think we cut Rillaboom. I don't think Rillaboom belongs here.
I agree. I agree. Rillaboom's, yeah, that was very situational.
And I also think we cut Rotom Phone from the top 20.
Rotom Phone? I
Yeah,
think it's top. I don't think it's top 10. I'll say yes because I don't believe it's anyways top 10. But
yeah.
it's close. I think it's close. That and all right.
I think
It
I'd
will
probably
be
cut both stadiums as well. I don't think they're that
both
good.
stadiums.
Yeah, they're
I
good, but
guess.
yeah,
All right. I'll cut the stadiums. Again, they're not top 10. I don't think so.
yeah.
It gets a little tricky. We got to cut 3 more.
So
Um,
what do you think we should cut?
let's see. Looking at the trainer, maybe Big Charm, but let's see what else we have. Big
I
Charm
think
would
it's
be the right
probably
cut.
Pokemon. Oh yeah, no, let's cut Big Charm. Let's cut Big Charm. I
Well,
could add
let's take a
Training
look at the
Court.
Pokemon.
I think Training Court's better than Big Charm.
Well, all right. I want to take a look at the Pokemon before we cut All right. Do you want to put Training Court in?
Yeah, let's do Training Court.
All right. We'll cut Big Charm.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
All right.
this video went longer than I thought, which I should have expected because it always does.
Yeah, we tend it. Yeah, we got a little sidetracked, but that's part of like you're remembering the good old days, right?
Yeah.
So
So let's we could cut.
I don't think the Amazing Rare belongs. I think that was very niche. I think it was a little too niche for me,
That's fine. Yeah, it was only good for a few sets.
and it was with a very specific set of other things to power it up, right?
Yeah, I think we should probably also cut Cramorant.
Because it was good, short lived, right? Okay, so
Yeah, and it was pretty niche as well.
yeah, so we're down to 1 card to cut, right?
And that's easy capture energy. No, we can keep capture.
The
I
Pokemon are all
think
decent. Could be one of the energies. I'm not sure which energy to cut though, right? To
I think
me,
it's one of the. I think it's one of the. Yeah, we could cut. You could cut Aurora if you want. I think that's fine.
I mean, I don't think either energy makes the top 20.
10.
I do think they're both top 10. Sorry. We could cut Training Court still.
No, we can cut Aurora. You want to cut Aurora?
Yeah, let me just look at these Pokemon a second.
That was
You
broken for like one set.
you want to keep Vikavolt, right?
Yeah.
All right, then we'll cut Aurora.
Yeah.
Because that made Lugia insane, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then narrowing this down to the
Top 10 to get the
yeah.
definitive top 10 list. All right. I mean, to me, certain ones are musts, right? Hang on a second. I got to sneeze. You can talk a second.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to like make my decks. Bro, I can't spell.
All right. So look, with Zashi and V's in the top 10, right?
Yeah, Zacian
I can
is
say
definitely in
that.
the top 10.
So I'm just gonna say that Crobat V is in the top 10, right? No doubt. You think it's okay? Wow, that's a doubt for you. Okay.
Yeah,
Drizzle's in
I
the
don't
top.
know. I think yeah, Drizzle is definitely in the top 10.
We can cut some out too, but also like I don't think Vikavoult's top 10 material.
Probably not. I think going Zigzagoon's not top 10.
Okay. I mean that's fine. I agree it's not top 10.
I think let's see.
So I cut that out. I meant 19. So you want to drop Capture Energy?
Yeah, let's drop Capture Energy. That doesn't feel quite strong enough.
Okay, that's fine. I think you're probably right.
You
I
said
mean,
no Vikavolt. I guess that's fine. It was good right when it came out, and it kind of fell off.
yeah. I mean, I think there's just. I mean, yeah. I just think there's too many things that are better than it to make the list.
Yeah, and I think Inteleon isn't either.
Okay. In a certain sense, Drizzile represents that a bit too,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, Drizzile's definitely there. Um,
Oh, and then Quick
okay.
Ball also has to be there.
Quick ball. Yeah, that's and Marnie has to be there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are ones like, and I think
Scoop
Air
up.
Balloon. Oh, Scoop Up Net has to be. Yeah, 'cause that's like one of the that's a huge missing card from the game now, right?
Yeah, and it's very good.
So
Um,
Training Court gets dropped. Did you say?
yeah, I didn't say that, but I think that's
I
fair.
think it does, right? It's not. So we're down to 15.
I think Glade Weezing probably has to get cut. Like it was good, but I don't
Okay.
think it
Yep.
makes it.
I think you're right about that.
Let's see. I think Chinchino gets cut.
My boy. Yeah.
Yeah, as I
No.
said,
Yeah. I think.
it's always been it's just like a loser. Like
Oh man.
I know that's harsh,
Yeah.
but it's kind
No.
of
I mean, Crobat still I think makes it, but let's
yeah. I
see
think
here.
Crobat makes. I think let's see.
Does
We got
Eternatus
13.
make it?
Yeah, I think Eternus has to make it. I think Eternus is above Dragapult. I think Rangoon probably gets cut. Like it's good, but I think putting it at the top 10, it's a bit lackluster of a card.
Yeah. It was. Look, it's very good, but I think it's not. I mean, you could make the argument it is. I think, but I think it comes up short. So,
Yeah.
um,
Do we could drop Metal Saucer? I feel like you kind of want to drop Metal Saucer, right?
I would like. I mean, it's obviously only metal decks. Now it was some good decks early and late. It was mostly early, right?
Yeah, I'm fine
You
with
had
cutting.
Duraludon too,
Duraludon
but
didn't
when you
play
had
it that much though. I think Dialga played it. Like it was good in Dialga, but like,
yeah,
Dialga wasn't that good. I'm fine with cutting Metal Saucer.
yeah, I think Metal Saucer's out.
Let's see.
I have 11.
Yeah. Let's
I
see.
have six
So
trainers. So Air Balloon, I think I want on the list. That one maybe.
yeah, I think so. We said so. I think Evo Instance has to stay. I think
Yeah,
Rod
I think
also stays. Rod's weird because there's Super Rod.
Yeah, Rod's
We'll
kind of
join
on the
it out at the
fence, I
same
would
time, but
say.
like, yeah. Um,
I think Rod's on the chopping block, and
yeah.
then let's see for
I'd
Pokemon, it would
actually no. I'd keep Rod over Air Balloon.
wait. Oh, I haven't cut Dragapult, so I would say
Uh,
we could cut Dragapult.
I don't know about that. I think that's the lowest Pokemon or Crobat.
Zacian, Drizzile, Eternatus, Crobat stay, right? So
I don't know.
Dragapult's
I could cut Crobat.
Crobat.
Probably not. It's
No,
like
you can't cut Crobat. You can't cut
Crobat
Crobat.
wasn't like that good. Like I saw lots of play. I
It was
guess
in
I'd cut
so many decks,
Dragapult over
so many
Crobat.
decks, right? All right, well,
Yeah,
let's see. Or we got to cut a trainer. So Marnie stays, Net stays, Incense, Quick Ball. So then you have Air Balloon or Nair Rod or Dragapult. I think it's one of those three cards to go.
yeah. I guess it's Dragapult.
All right. I mean, I could say see or Nair Rod maybe. I
No,
would say.
Nevada's like super good. Like there was like a time we didn't have it. There was like a one
And it
set
was a
thing,
big
and it was
loss.
like,
I agree.
yeah.
No, you're right.
So
And
we
I
got
think
it. I think you don't like Dragapult, so I feel like,
I'm not the big Dragapult lover. So,
yeah.
yeah. So we only have one pure attacking Pokemon in Eternatus, right? Because Zacian's an attacker,
Yeah.
but the ability was important too for it.
I mean, so is Eternus' ability. No.
Well, but that was just so it could attack, basically.
Yeah, but I think I think this is a solid. I mean, these are all very good cards.
Yeah.
Um, we saw more. I think the top 20 was more Pokemon, but now the top 10 is more trainers, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the trainers, yeah, because they're in a lot of decks, almost all the decks, these cards. And, they were so key to the game the whole time, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's one or two cards at the fringe. I think the top eight's probably pretty locked in. Maybe if that's where you had the cutoff,
Um,
right?
yeah,
Something.
no,
I don't
I
know.
think
We
this
don't.
top 10 is pretty good. I think like Air Balloon or Nirvana definitely belong here as well. I
Mhm.
think they're like very good cards.
So we have the definitive top Hall of Fame top 10 cards from the D block, and I'll read it through here. Zacian V, Drizzile, Eternatus VMAX, Crobat V, Ordinary Rod, Quick Ball, Air Balloon, Evolution Incense, Marnie, and Scoop Up Net. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something.
I think that's good. These cards like belong in Hall of Fame, I think. So yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this.
Yeah. So obviously, let us know what cards a card you think should be here, or a card if there's a card we missed that maybe deserves some consideration. Let us know. If there's something that we have in the top 10 that you think just is a mistake. Let us know that too.
Yeah. Oh, and the next time, or I don't know about next time, but in the future, we're gonna do both, not together, but we're gonna do the ones that are rotating soon and the ones that
Mhm.
rotated before this.
Rotated
So
before
if
this.
you have cards you want us to talk about, leave those down below in the comments as well. And we're excited to see you next time. So subscribe as well if you enjoy it. Like the video, all that good stuff. Is this going on
Yep.
Spotify?
It's coming out on Spotify, so it's on your podcast player as well. Although we're making it more visually focused, I got to say. So I don't know if it'll keep going on podcast indefinitely. We'll see. If you want it on the podcast, let us know. Let us know in the video in the YouTube though, because that's where we'll see the comments. If you like it on the podcast player, we can keep making that happen too.
Yeah, and, our YouTube channels are what's it called? It's the link youtube.com/at 10 types, the 10TYPES, and then uncommon fossil
With one M.
UNCO, yeah, with one M.
That's the way you got to spell it. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and have a good week.
Yep, see ya.